this is Maya, and thank you for listening to Brief Life Book Study. We are studying this go round. We are studying the book The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. This book, The Four Agreements, is a practical guide to personal freedom. It is the Toltec wisdom book. And this is podcast, recording, YouTube, however you listen to it. Video 2. It's recording 2. And in the first recording, of course, we were introducing ourselves, blah, blah, blah. And we went right into the book. And the first part of the book tells us who and what the Toltec is, what was their foundation, who were they about. And what we know about the Toltec group is that they were a group of scientists and artists. Okay, we notice people who create, right? A group of scientists and artists, and their role was to conserve and conceal spiritual teachings and practices from the ancient ones. Okay. And they concealed these things because of the possibility of European folks misusing it for personal gain. Okay. And that personal gain meaning it can go wide. You can go wide range of what that actually means. But it's just, for example, I'll use this as an example. We have the Bible. But a lot of people manipulate and uses the Bible for their personal gain. So they will preach and teach about things that's not particularly in the Bible. It's just the way they can receive, or however, it's a personal something. There's a hidden agenda of why they want to misuse the Bible. Okay, so that's just a little small example. But the Toltec group of people, they used to meet at the pyramid, where they like to call it man become God. And we know that God lives within us. God, and this is what I am saying, that God is the creator of the universe, the source of our lives. And so, biblical terms, it tells you, if you lack wisdom and you want it, ask for it and I will give it to you. And so, very intelligent group of people to have this type of wisdom and knowledge. And although it does not recognize a certain religion or religious belief, but it embraces spirit. And that's what it is. Our life is truly about, is our spirit. You know, how we walk and talk is about our spiritual self. But we are all spiritual beings here in this world called Earth. We on Earth and we in this world. And they have the wisdom and teachings of having the personal freedom to be our authentic selves, our true selves, really. And so he went on, and that was the first part of that. And then the introduction of this book, he talked about the Smoky Mirror, where the smoke is the dream and the mirror itself is the dreamer. And so you can reference some songs that's in pop culture, like Michael Jackson, if you want to see change, look at the man in the mirror, you know. So I'm thinking, like, I don't even know if this book was out during that. I should have did some research on that, but I didn't. But basically, our dreams are foggy. We don't have much clarity. And what I'm noticing now, since I have been through my awakening stages, and I'm forever growing, what I'm realizing now is that how can we really truly be ourselves if we're stuck on the belief of what was given to us, what was told to us? And what I've been noticing is a lot of people, just like the example in the story of the Smoky Mirror, there is something more out there. Is something else to me. I can't put my hands on it, but clearly there is need to be some clarification of my purpose and will here. Rick Warren wrote the book The Purpose of the Driven Life. And you know, that book, it was 40, I think it was like 40 different things that to get you to the purpose of that driven life. And then becoming the best you, and all these other books are coming out because they all are saying, get on the will, get on the purpose of your life. Okay? And like, I'm not telling you to follow Buddha or Jesus or Muhammad, any of that. I'm saying follow God. And you can follow whoever. I have learned, I myself have gained awesome knowledge through Jesus, and awesome knowledge through Buddha, and awesome knowledge through other religions. You know, I believe in the I do. I believe in the chakras and the energy. I believe it all comes to one. And that is my belief. That's my new belief that I have. Now, yours may be totally different. I'm not here to do that. And we're going to learn later on through this book that we need to be impeccable with our word. The difference between white and black magic, so forth and so on. I don't want to get ahead of myself on that. But now we are really into the book in this recording. And in this recording, we're talking about chapter 1. Chapter 1 is called Domestication and the Dream of the Planet. Domestication and the Dream of the Planet. And what we're going to do with our book studies, we're just going to bring out some key stuff. Because you're supposed to read it. If you don't read it, you know, maybe you're using this recording to help you through the book, or maybe you're using this recording to read the book. I tell you, do what you feel that you're led to do. However, read the book. And I'm going to, FYI, I have read this book several times. And every time I read it, I get more and more clarity of what it is speaking to me from this book. Domestication and the Dream of the Planet. First of all, I am very shocked that one of the first books that we did not do for this book study series, I'm surprised we didn't do The Battlefield of the Mind by Joyce Myers. And because the battlefield really truly starts in the mind. Our mind is forever working, constantly, 24/7, whether we are awake or whether we're asleep. Our mind never shuts off. It's going to think something. It's just one of those things. Even if someone say, clear your mind and focus on XYZ. Well, you clear your mind of all the distractions, but your mind is still working on XYZ. And so that's how our brain is working and functioning. We are always dreaming. We're dreaming whether we are awake. We're dreaming whether we are asleep. When we're asleep, there is no frame. It's just constantly going. When we are awake, we have control somewhat to say, okay, my mind is steady going, but I need to do this task. I need to change the diaper. I need to go to work. I need to change this tire. I want to shop for some shoes. I want to meditate. The mind has a frame where it can kind of stop in between and focus on XYZ. We have more control in it, right? So we think, right? But in a dream, when we're asleep, there is no frame. We just sleep unless something wakes us up, right? whether it's in that dream or whether it's on the outside of that sleep, right? So we are dreaming. Even right now, we're dreaming. We are constantly, consistently dreaming, awake and asleep. So what is the dream of the planet? Now, I like to sum this whole thing up that the dream of the planet is simply control. I want to control people. It's a group of people who have formed societies, who have formed religions, who have formed holidays, who have formed the ways of parenting, who has formed schools so we can be controlled. But that's not how the Toltec group actually really bring it to light. They break it down simpler to what I just did. And so the dream of the planet is the collective dream that came together from our family, community, city, and so forth and so on. Our countries, our societies, right? The belief comes from the laws, the religions, the cultures, government, schools, and social events and holidays. And how they form this dream of the planet into our life is by getting our attention, period. And according to where you fit in culture, community, society, your country, whether you live on the eastern side of the world or the western side, whether you live in a poverty neighborhood or you live in a well-to-do, wealthy neighborhood, whether you are middle class or you're high class, the moment you were born, you have been taught how you should and should not be. And how do they do that? The moment we are born, they obtain our attention. They give us what they feel that we need in order to function in this world. I'm going to say function because you'll see later on. To function in this world. This is the dream of their planet. And so they hook our attention, okay, from day one. It's just how they do it. I have several examples I could use, but I don't want to take up too much time. They get our attention. We have, in order to get our attention, so we have to discriminate and focus on what we want to perceive, what they want us to perceive. That's how they gain our attention. To have focus on what they want us to perceive. Based in using our attention, we learn who to believe, what not to believe, who is beautiful, who is ugly, what's big. Well, we can obviously see what would be big and small. But basically, we can discriminate. We can focus on what we should and should not have, what we should and should not do. Okay? And that can go deeper into, like I said, the communities and culture. What they do for white families, they may not do for families for people of color. And then they even break down the people of color from Spanish descent to African descent. And they keep breaking it down. And this is how you're gonna live. You're gonna live in fear, or you're not gonna live in fear. You're gonna live in privilege, and you're not gonna live in privilege. And the reality of it is, and it always, that's what confuses me sometimes, well, it used to, with Christianity. It's like, oh my word. We have black, white, believing in the same God, same Jesus. But yet somehow we are still discriminating and still focusing on whatever was taught to the generations before. And it would be like we would say the awakened ones who want to see that change, who wants to see all these other things. But we're going to see further on in this chapter, there is no justice in that, because we constantly relive in it. We constantly become the judge and the victim of things. Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. So, the concepts about how to behave in this world that they are forever creating, all part of the dream of the planet. And once they give us these concepts, and we have to have the attention they get our attention, it becomes very competitive, especially in the socialism world. It becomes very competitive because it's like, I want to gain this prize. I want to show that I'm just as good or just as better than the next person. So it becomes very competitive. And when it becomes competitive, a lot of times we spend more money. A lot of times we spend more time on the outside world versus on the inside world. So, I want to be more hype. I want to be more popular. I need more likes. I need more hearts. I need more views. I need more everything. Because I need to let everybody know I am here. The attention is on me. Because they have given me the attention of what I need, how to behave and how not to behave. How to look, how not to look. And not looking at, not even thinking about the mere fact that what is good and what is bad. Even that, the dream of the planet, people have taught us what is good, but what is good under what? What is bad? What is bad under what? What may be good for you may not be good for me. But because you're saying it's good, and I should believe you because you're maybe my school teacher, that may be good for you, but it may not be good for me. That may be bad for you, but it's not bad for me, because I may have more self-control than you do for yourself, and vice versa. So we get competitive. You see how that works? You get very competitive on things of that nature, and when you do that, you want to be better than, more than, based on the limited beliefs of others. This is domestication, the dream of the planet. How we are being fitted and molded into the beliefs of others and not really realizing who we truly are. Okay? So, as children, we store information because we trust and believe in the adults. The adults want us to trust and believe in them, respect them, honor them. We trust them because that is mom and dad. We trust them because that is grandma and that is grandpa. It must work. We don't know any better when we're children. So we do trust them to give us the resources that we need. And so it comes from whether, simplest thing about colors. This is red and blue. Blue is supposed to only be for boys, and red is for girls. And in some cases, anybody that wears red, they're worshiping the devil. Anybody that wears all black, they're gothic. That's not true. So now you have someone who may really love the color black in wearing it. But because somewhere in somebody else's belief system have taught someone, You cannot wear all black because you'd be perceived as gothic or worshiping the devil. Because I am wearing black all the time. Okay. And so that becomes a problem. That's something that you're not supposed to do. Says who, though? Says when they got your attention and you started trusting them to give you the right information that you need. Versus there are so many colors in the spectrum, you can like whatever one you like. You can like none of them. You can like them all. That is totally up to you. But I myself is not going to tell you, don't wear all that black because, XYZ. Because you will believe that. You will trust that because I got your attention and you held on to it. And because of that, you made the agreement to carry that out. You agreed whatever I got your attention on. And when you agree, you believe. And when you believe, you have faith. And to have faith is to believe unconditionally. Now that is in the book. So we can go to page 5 and reference that on page 5. And it says, the only way to store information is by agreement. The outside dream may hook our attention, but if we don't agree, we don't store the information. But as soon as we agree, we believe it. And this is called faith. To have faith is to believe unconditionally. And you go further down, it says, children believe everything adults say, and we agree with them. And with our faith is so strong that the belief system controls our whole dream of life. We didn't choose these beliefs, and we may have rebelled against them, but we are not strong enough to win the rebellion. Why? Because it's just that was the process that we were placed in. The result is the surrender to these beliefs with our agreement. And this is what we call the process of domestication of humans. So this is how it is hooked to us on how we are today, how we are in a society, and how sometimes the thing called depression comes, because depression is basically fighting against what we believe, what we were taught to believe, what we was taught to trust and have faith in. And so anything outside of that get us in an emotional state that is very, very unhealthy, which another form that we could call that is depression. Now, disclaimer, I'm not a clinical doctor, okay? I'm just a spiritual being that's growing and healing and out here healing and teaching, just like a lot of other people. But this is not medical advice. This is absolutely not. But, so, the process of domestication of humans is the process, first of all, we need to teach you how to live. Okay? What behavior is acceptable. Okay? And so, and I see it in so many different ways, you know. You have people who act proper, people who don't act proper, all of this stuff. This is all about domestication of human. You know, it even goes down to what a woman role is, what a man role is, what men supposed to be doing, what women are supposed to be doing. And thank God for the women who rebelled against that. I can do the same thing that a man could do, you know. And 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 a lot of times, and there were times, and it's probably still is times, I've came across a few men in the recent years who has a problem with that, who still have a problem with that, and later on you'll see why. Uh, and that's part of the grievance. Don't take nothing personal. Don't take it personally. But anyway, staying on task. And so we learn how to judge based on the process of domestication. We learn how to judge. And how we do that is, I better not wear pants all the time. Or simplest thing, polo shirts. Because if I wear polo shirts all the time as a woman, I may be considered a woman who likes same sex. That's crazy. But that is reality for a lot of folks. And because, ooh, why does she dress like that? Ooh, oh, why does it matter to you? Why does it matter to you why a person dressed like that? Okay. So here we are. So we we learn how to judge, and then we come into a world of punishment and reward. Now, punishment and reward is all about ultimately pleasing others. Okay. If you do like I tell you to do, you are a good person, and I'm going to give you a reward. If you don't do like I tell you to do, I'm going to not give you anything, and I'm going to punish you. And so this is how we treat our children. Okay? If you don't sit down right now so you will stop disturbing everybody else, if you don't do it, I'm going to get you. I'm going to get you good. But if you do sit down and behave yourself, you're going to get a treat. Nobody likes to be punished. Everybody wants goodness. Okay? See how that works? Everybody wants goodness. Nobody wants to be punished. So 9 times out of 10, the child will do right because they don't want to be punished. And so some kids even grow up further than that and say, if I work in the family business, I will have great rewards. If I don't work in the family business or follow daddy or mama or whoever footsteps, 9 times out of 10, any and everything that I do is going to be harder for me because this is what the belief that they put in my head. And sure enough, ironically, things will start looking like it's hard, for you. And, you rebel and you go back to, you know what? I was wrong about that because I don't like that. I don't like that type of feeling. So I'm going to go back to what you all said. And then in some cases, some people don't go back to that. They'll just say, they find themselves hooked on some type of drug or something. Some type of addiction. It doesn't have to be like drugs, like pills or anything. It'd be addiction to shopping. And then they have formed a bad habit. And then they will do things to keep up that habit, right? And because the root of it is, I have to keep this appearance up. And because I rebelled and now family doesn't want me back, or whatever the case may be, I have to do any and everything to keep me going. Because at the end of the day, that does not keep you happy. It just keeps you going. And so we are out here pleasing others, which none of this glorify God. And who is God? God is the creator of the universe, the source of our life. And he created us for good. And pleasing others do not glorify him. It just doesn't. So we rebel a little bit, we get afraid, and then we feel like there's something wrong, and then we are punished. And then we learn to do this to ourselves. After other people and governments and stuff, after they have shown us this is the way, this is what's going to happen to you, you know, if you don't do it the way we do it, you will be punished. And because of that, before we even get to that point, as we get older, before we get to that point, we learn how to do this to our own selves. We punish ourselves. We reward ourselves when we are good. And that's how we operate. I'm going to punish myself. I see people all the time. I'm not going to eat any bread today because I ate 3 slices of cake yesterday. I was bad. I shouldn't have done that. So I'm going to punish myself. I'm not going to eat any bread. So I'm going to have a lettuce sandwich without bread. What in the world? Okay. But if we've been really, really good, I haven't had any carbs all week, and I've been drinking only alkaline water all week, I get to reward myself on Sunday morning with a cup of coffee. So little things like that, we punish and reward ourselves. And we say, you know what, because I was not a good steward over my money, I overspent. I can't go on this trip. But then you say, well, I have done absolutely well all year. Next year, I'm going to go on the biggest trip ever. I rewarded myself. And so these are the self-talk that we give ourselves all the time based on the beliefs that has been taught to us. So we judge everything on the inner side so we can reflect what needs to be seen on the outside. Listen to that one more time. We judge everything on the inner side so folks on the outside can see what we're about. I used to do this all the time. When I was in college, all my friends around me, all my classmates around me that I was hanging out with was wearing high heels. And I liked the way they looked on my feet and stuff. And to keep up with them, I wore heels too, secretly knowing that heels hurt my ankles because I was severely flat-footed. Still is. And it didn't matter. And I would literally pay for it at night. Or not even at night. my ankles will, forget the feet part. The ankles will be just throbbing and they'd be so swole. And I remember one time I sat in the dorm room and it was so swole that I started bleeding around my ankles. That's how swole it was because I was wearing some heels with some nice pants. Oh man, they were nice, pretty heels at that. Trying to keep up with everyone around me, right? Well, I made up in my mind one day I'm going to flats. Period. Because I am punishing myself because I knew better than to try to keep up with everybody else. But the belief behind of wearing those heels, you can get your man. You'll get a date. Somebody will take you out. Because you got on nice pretty heels, you got a nice personality, you got long pretty black hair. With those heels, with that outfit, girl, you got it going on. So if I obviously don't have it going on if I'm wearing flats. That was the mindset. Until I said to myself, no, I rebelled against the heels. And I started wearing my flats. And feel great. And I'll never forget, somebody said, one of my family members said, girl, why you don't wear heels anymore? Well, I had started finding myself explaining, well, I don't do it because blah, 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 blah. That was the punishment and the reward. And that was the inner side of me saying, you know why you're not wearing heels. You know. So don't try to make up anything. Oh, I couldn't find any. Or, whatever. Don't lie. Just simply tell the truth. I'm choosing not to wear the heels. But that's not how it worked out. But that's an example of how we judge everything on the inside. And if it doesn't line up with everything on the outside, we start to feel guilty. And we feel like we need to punish our own selves. And then we become ashamed for not lining up with the outside world. So when we receive the judgment, we become a victim. And as that victim, we carry the blame and the guilt and the shame. And we have the poor me mentality. Or things are just not working out in this area of my life. And all of this is based on the belief of what we did not choose. We did not choose that, we have to look a certain way in order to obtain a husband or to get a significant other, a spouse, a life partner. So we have to be very careful with this, because when breaking this type of belief system that we already have instilled in us, we're opening up emotional wounds. Okay? And so those emotional wounds could be XYZ. And the reaction to this is we create emotional poison. Okay? Today I had a conversation with a friend, and she said, I told so-and-so I just couldn't do it. And she texted me back and said, okay. And I feel bad. I said, uh-oh. Why do you feel bad for telling her something that you cannot do? I wouldn't feel bad about that. But it was because she rebelled against what that friend wanted her to do. And so when she did that, an emotional wound was open. And that wound was, I could lose a friend. Or that friend could be mad with me. And so internally, she's now judging herself. She's becoming the victim and everything. And she started creating an emotional poison because she said this very next statement. I thought about texting her back and say, you know what? I think I might can find time. I said, no, don't do that. Stick to your yes and stick to your no. But it's because of the belief system that we have fell upon with the social skills, the people pleasing others because of the punishment and reward reaction. Okay, the punishment for her right now is I didn't do what she asked me to do. So I'm in punishment and she's not talking to me. Now I know nothing about what's going on with this event because I said, no, I cannot do. But if I would have done it, I would get the reward as she would have continued to talk to me XYZ. But on the flip side of that, I would have been burnt out. I would have been bitter. I would have been angry. I would have been fighting everybody. I would have been mad. And the root of me being mad because I didn't have enough time to do what I told her I would do. But because I want to keep this line of communication open. I want to know what's going on. I want to be in the loop and everything. Right? So I told my friend, I said, whatever you do, try not to be poisoned with the emotional wounds that has opened up. And so because of that, we go back to what feels safe, right? We go back to the limited beliefs, the dream of the planet, because of the domestication. Now, if we go to page 12, I'm going to give you an example that our author, so I like to call him our teacher, has put in this book. We so the main thing is, what is true justice? And I'm going to the top of the page. True justice is paying True justice is paying only once for each mistake. True injustice is paying more than once for each mistake. How many times do you pay for a mistake? And I like to do side note there. It doesn't even have to be a mistake. It could just be something just simply being. But here we are. It says, we have a powerful memory. We make a mistake, we judge ourselves, and we find ourselves guilty, and we punish ourselves. And then it goes further down. It says, but every time we remember, we judge ourselves again. Then we are guilty again. Then we punish ourselves again, and again and again and again. If a wife or a husband, he or she also reminds us of the mistake. So we judge ourselves again, we punish ourselves again, we find ourselves guilty again. But is that fair? How many times do we make our spouse or our children or our parents pay for the same mistake? Every time we remember the mistake, we blame again. We send all those emotional poison. We feel at the injustice, and then we make them pay again for the same mistake. So, with that being said, is that fair? No. And we do that to others, but yet we also do that to ourselves. That is simply living in hell. Okay? That is living in hell. But then a lot of times people will tell you, you're going straight to hell if you don't do it this way. You're going to hell if you do that. If you are gay, you're going straight to hell. That is, I'm probably going to lose a lot of listeners and viewers, and I really don't care. That's an inaccurate statement. And that's almost saying it because you're breathing, you're going to hell. But that's just bad news, you know. And because in reality is we already in hell, especially when you can't be yourself. Okay. You know, some people may think all black people are going to hell because black is wrong, black is devil, black is this. In reality, black people are already living in hell because the constant of the reminder putting them through over and over the injustice. It's not a mistake that they are born black. God made no mistake. Everything God creates is good. So I myself had to learn. God created me, and I was good when God created me. So whether I'm black, white, or whatever you may want to call me, I may sound white, I may sound black, I may look one way or whatever the case may be, however you are judging me based on how I look, I am good in my Creator's eyes. And that's all I need to know. And that's all I know, right? And so we forget that aspect. And because of that, fear comes. And fear comes in different ways. Each person, of course, we have experienced anger, jealousy, hate, envy, and other negative emotions. All of this is part of the personal dream that we can create that's going to be an ongoing nightmare because we suffer. We're suffering in a state of fear. And some people may say, well, I'm not afraid of anything. You are. Actually, if you're living a life based on beliefs of others, if you're living a life based on the belief of anything outside of the goodness of God. Okay, so there is a group of us who are, all of humanity is searching for the truth, justice, and beauty. But, you know, how can we search for the truth, justice, and beauty? We have to get to a point where we say, this is not it. And so we keep searching and searching. And in reality, everything that we need to know is absolutely within us. It goes from within and then outward. If we can get our inside in alignment, we can definitely be able to see it on the outside. We will start seeing the fruits of our labor. We will start seeing that abundance is everywhere, and abundance truly do belong to everyone and all of us. At this point, our mind become a fog when we steady looking and not understanding. With the Toltec, they call this fog the Ma Tote. In the Indian beliefs, in India beliefs, they call the mote, I call it mote, the Ma Tote, Maya. And Maya means illusion. And so with this illusion, we really cannot see who we truly are. We don't know who we are. And Brief Life Ministries, Brief Life Ministries, it's not a ministry. But I'm speaking that, I see. But Brief Life stemmed from being herself. And being herself, our goal and our mission is always for women and men, whoever, to be themselves. Really, truly live in a life that you are yourself. But you have to get clarity of who you are if you are trapped into the domestication, the dream of the planet. We cannot see who and what we truly are. And being ourselves bring on fear. Because in reality, if I'm my true self, that may bring mama some shame because she's in an elite group. She goes to a certain church, or she graduated from a certain university, or we grew up in a certain neighborhood. And I sometimes you hear people talk about things that's on the news, and he grew up, you know what, girl, he grew up in a good neighborhood. What do the good neighborhood have to do anything about it? Or single parent homes, they may say, and he had both of his parents growing up. I don't know why he treat his baby mamas like that. He knows how to, whatever. It's like, what does any of that have to do with that person as an individual? But that's just the belief, and that is the limited belief that we have been accustomed to. And because we bring this fear on ourselves, we try to satisfy other people and their demands and how we should live and how we should be. With the fear, we do this because we have the fear of not being accepted. Okay. So, and I had an example for that, but we don't really need it. We really don't. But we do that because that can really, really happen. And usually it's because you may be in a wrong group of people. People may not be really ready. It doesn't matter. That has to somehow be a life that we cannot continue to go on like that. And so we have the saying say, play the part, be the part. Because if you play the part, which is not being yourself, you can be the part, which is the reward of being friends or getting a job or being in a social group or having as many likes or having a lot of rewards. And just we want the big prize. So we create a world based on how we should be, based on being accepted by everyone. And this way, we are never going to be enough under this belief system. You're just never going to be enough. I don't care how many times It may be one or two people, and they may come out and be like, hey, embrace this. And then somebody else is going to say, well, no, don't embrace this. And things of that nature. And then so you're just never going to be enough when you're always trying indirectly or trying to prove, trying to fight to be accepted, and because of this, we have different behaviors. And one of those behaviors is we reject ourselves. We decide, I'm going to reject myself so I can be who other people want me to be. So we move in our lives so we don't be rejected. We move in a way so we won't be rejected by other people. And so that is a simple form of, not simple, but that is a form of abuse. We abuse ourselves because we become our own judge. And when we become the judge, we become the victim. And the limited belief system is in our life, and that's what we hold on to. That's what we gravitate to. And so the way we judge ourselves, and I'm on page 19 right now, the way we judge ourselves is the worst judge that would ever existed. But as soon as we are alone, the judge comes on strong. The guilt is so strong, and we feel so stupid, or we feel so bad, and we feel so unworthy. And so our whole life we go through that. And that is abusing ourselves. That is called self-abuse. Now, when we go through things like that, we learn how to not take other people's rejection. And on page 20, he explains that. If you abuse yourself very badly, you can even tolerate someone else who beats you up, humiliates you, and treats you like dirt. Why? Because in your belief system, you say, I deserve it. This person is doing me a favor by being with me. I'm not worthy of love and respect. I am not good enough. That's very deep. Before he wrote that, he said, if someone abuses you a little bit more than you abuse yourself, you will probably walk away from that person. But if someone abuses you a little less than you abuse yourself, you probably would stay in that relationship and tolerate it endlessly. Okay? Because you're saying, I probably deserve it. And that's, if they beat you up a little lesser than what you already beat yourself up. Well, at least at least I'm in a relationship. At least we're friends. So we constantly going through that. And because of that, we cannot accept and love ourselves. The self-abuse comes from self-rejection. And self-rejection comes from having an image of what it means to be perfect and never measuring up to that idea. So, we self-reject. We either take people rejection or we don't. And some people use that. Some people can recognize it because it's within themselves. And they recognize it in other people before they can recognize it in themselves, or they push how it is in themselves underneath. But when we get to this point, we have decided that we've made an agreement with ourselves. And we made this agreement with ourselves, with the dream of life, with God, with society, with our parents, with our spouse, with our children, and so forth and so on. And but the most important one is the agreement that you made with yourself. The Bible tells us, love God with all your heart, mind, soul, and spirit. And then the very next thing after it says that is love thy neighbor as you do yourself. And so when you love thy neighbor as you do yourself, where is it where it says love thyself? It doesn't. It says love God, then love thy neighbor. So we truly find ourselves into God, the creator of you. That unconditional love with God will allow us to be able to have unconditional love with ourselves, and which will give unconditional love to others. And so indirectly, we do not do this. We do it directly and indirectly. But we've been moving so like to please others and not to please God. Here we are today. Okay. Whew. That is so deep. I have to step back on that one. So, who you are, what to feel, what to believe, and how to behave. So those are the agreements we have made. And so I like to encourage you, like the new agreement that we are going to get from this book, the new agreement. Let's break free from those agreements that come from fear, self-rejection, rejection. All of those things depletes our energy. It really makes us feel bad. Because like the story I was telling you earlier about the friend I was talking to, you can tell, we were on the phone, she was just happy and she was talking and everything, but the moment she started expressing about that story, I could tell her energies had started to get slowed down, and all of a sudden, oh, I have so much to do. No, that story drained you. That situation just depleted all your energy. And so what we need to do is break free from those agreements of fear and rejection and so forth and so on, because all of that just sucks the energy out of it. Now, in order to break free from those agreements, we have to have a strong will. We have to have a strong will, and I'm going to tell you, like it said earlier, when you alone, you really start thinking, right? And so, but don't give up on yourself. Adopt these 4 agreements in your life. Agree with these if you must. If you want some personal freedom. And in order to really truly be free, it has to start with you, in your mind. Once you be open to these 4 agreements, you will see that the dream will become clear. The drama in your life, the drama of hell, will disappear. And then you can create a personal, peaceful, joyful dream. And part of that, what I have decided to do with this book study, and I'm not sure if we're going to do that with other books, but the Spirit has led me with this book study to do meditations and affirmations to go along each recording. And so I thank you for listening this far. And I want to invite you to listen to the meditation recording and the affirmation recording. I will have those up very soon. They will be on YouTube, and they will be on wherever you get this podcast. And the meditations and the affirmations is strictly inspired by this book, but it's going to be Spirit has been talking to me and leading me into it to do this. So I really do thank God for that, because I recognize that even with myself, when I'm trying to break the old agreements and bring in the new agreements in my life, you do have to have a strong will. And you do have to um, stay focused on your new agreements to give you that personal freedom. And part of that can help you is through meditation and affirmations. And so, starting from this recording on, we will create a meditation recording and an affirmation recording inspired by the chapter that we had just studied. And so, again, I just want to say thank you for listening to us today. Domestication of the Dream of the Planet. That was chapter 1 in the book The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, a practical guide to personal freedom, the Toltec wisdom book. Until next time, be blessed and be yourself. I want you to truly be yourself. And again, thank you for listening. And toodaloo, we'll see you next time.